In this video series, we are going to explore the foundations of modern architecture according to one of the greatest architects. Charles-Édouard Jeanneret, or Le Corbusier, is a Swiss architect that contributed and pioneered modern architecture and city planning. In his book, Towards New Architecture, Le Corbusier describes the deteriorating state of architecture versus the rise of the engineers during the industrial boom of the early 19th century. He goes on to explain that engineers rely on the laws of nature and mathematical forms to build their factories and machineries. The factories built by the engineers at the time are a better form of architecture than the houses and towns designed by the architects. Architecture is heavily influenced by styles and customs, limiting the true role of architecture in the city and society. Styles are sometimes, but not always, pretty and never anything more. However, architecture has higher ends, and it should impress the human instincts. The architect should be able to arouse emotions, leading to a satisfactory condition for the people exploring his architecture. The genius of Le Corbusier was his ability to join his Cubist art philosophies with his mathematical analytical mind. So to solve the issue of the architects, he wrote about the three reminders that architects should come back to: mass, surface, and the plan. First, architecture is a masterful play of masses that we see in light. Le Corbusier argued that the primary forms are the forms that our brains mostly appreciate. Egyptian, Greek, and Roman architecture is based on prisms, cubes, cylinders, pyramids, and spheres. On the other hand, Gothic architecture is made from complex forms. And when a form gets too complex, it will require additional decoration, such as the use of ornaments and foliage, which will downgrade the purity of the mass and the design of the architect. The job of the architect is to preserve the purity of the geometry in his projects. If you are enjoying this video so far, please click the like button and subscribe to our channel. Okay, moving on. The second reminder to architects is the proper use of the mass surfaces. Surfaces envelope the masses and should follow the geometry directing lines. To simplify this idea, let's consider the mass as the architectural structure of the house, the temple, or the factory. The surfaces of that factory are in most cases the doors and the windows. These openings are basically the deconstruction of the pure geometry of the mass and are in rivalry with it. The challenge of the architect is to modulate the surface while preserving the purity of the geometry. You can check out the architectural works of Raphael and Bramante to clearly understand the use of pure geometrical shapes in buildings. The final reminder is the use of the plan. The plan is the generator of architecture and the element that requires the best of the architect's imagination. Also, let us use an example that Le Corbusier described in his book to clearly understand the importance of the plan in modern architecture. If you are in a city where the buildings are made out of pure masses, the grouping of these masses is positioned in a clear rhythm, and the relationship of these masses to the space is in the right proportion. Then your eye will transmit to your brain the sensation of the scenery, and your brain will derive from this sensation a feeling of satisfaction of a higher order. The job of the plan is to coordinate the play of masses in rhythmic fashion, invoking the brains of the people, and this is the real role of architecture. This video only scratched the surface of this book, so make sure to subscribe and hit the bell button to be notified when we release future parts of this series. You can check our previous videos for the ideas of other great minds like Francis Ching and Vitruvius. Thank you for watching.